In these experiments that I'm going to share with you, the main idea is for difficult conversations about race. Some Black Americans are better than others at effectively communicating with whites. I'm going to talk about a personality construct called implicit power that distinguishes Blacks who are more effective communicators from ones who are less effective. And in this context, effective communication means reducing whites' level of anxiety, both at the explicit and implicit level, increasing openness and motivation to learn about race. What we mean by implicit power is the drive to influence others and to seek impact on others. So, for example, you can give a talk because your best friend is giving a talk. That's not implicit power. But you could give a talk because you want to influence the audience. You want to change their mind. And that would be a behavior called giving a talk. The underlying motive is the desire to seek influence on others. What's important about the definition is that the behavior of what you see someone doing is less important than the motive that's driving it. So we learned a couple of interesting and I would say counterintuitive things. One of the things is that Black participants or Black individuals who are high in implicit power are extremely effective at using what we call affiliation. They're trying to socially connect with white Americans. They're trying to sort of keep the connection going even while talking about very difficult, intractable problems related to race. So they're trying to keep the connection, build a social relations. They do a lot of what we call superordinate identity, a lot of we-ness. We can do this together. But at the same time, they're sort of articulating whatever the problem is related to race. So in this research, we talk about slavery, but you could talk about colorblindness and why people don't talk about race. You could also talk about diversity in companies and what is actually needed to move the needle forward. In politics, you could talk about affirmative action. You could talk about all these different incidences in the news constantly. Any difficult conversation about race, what Blacks who are high in implicit power are doing is they're keeping some kind of social connection going while at the same time talking about the vantage point, their vantage point as a Black person. So we know from David Winters, he did this coding of greatness of presidents. And what we know is that President Obama is high in implicit power. You can see it when in the coding of his speeches. So what we did is we did a study, an archival study, where we looked at all of the speeches, about 22 different speeches that he has given, and whether the audience was Black or whether the audience was predominantly Black or predominantly white. And what you find is that President Obama modulates, so that he uses more affiliation kind of terms, but only when he's talking to whites, not when he's talking to Blacks. And so, this is another way in which you can capture this sort of non-conscious motive. He doesn't know whether he's high or low in implicit motives, but he's doing something different that he knows is going to connect with that white audience in a way that is not necessary for the Black audience.